Hey guys, welcome back to another episode here on the podcast. This is just the beginning. I know it's been over a month since I've done a podcast episode, but I'm back today and I'm ready to start actually keeping to my promise of posting every week for you guys. As you can probably tell by the episode of this podcast, today I'm just going to kind of do a get to know me episode because I'm aware that a lot of you aren't my friends and you don't live kind of in my circle, and a lot of you want to know more about me, so I'm going to get into it today. And there's kind of some topics I want to talk about within this. It's not just going to be bullet points of me saying I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. But to start with, to be fair, a lot of you probably don't know, I'm 20 years old. I've got bleach blonde hair. I'm a bleach blonde girly, and I think a lot of people my age definitely have bleach blonde hair. Even if you're blonde, like I bet a lot of people do have bleach blonde hair. And that's something that I just want to clarify first, because I don't know, I talk a lot about my hair, I think, and I'm just a bleach blonde girly, and that's what I want to get out of the way first. I've actually just got my hair redone because I went brunette last year. Gorgeous colour, I am brunette, but I went a really chocolatey brown, and now I am very blonde and I love it because I started dyeing my hair when I was 14. I went to the horrible look of having an ombre, and my hair was so long, so it was just a dip dye, and I loved it at the time because it was a trend, and I followed anything Zoella would do, and she had the ombre, so I was like, I'm gonna get an ombre. My mum was worried because she didn't know if my school would allow it, but they did. That's why she said don't get it all the way up in case you've got to cut it off, and I was like, they're not gonna make me cut it off, but it was fine. And then I just went more and more blonde over the years, and then for prom when I was 16, that was the first time I went full blonde. And then since then I've kind of always been blonde, apart from the time last year where I went brunette. So I'm back blonde again. So I wanted to do this episode, regardless of the blonde hair. Just because, I just realised that not many people know much about me other than kind of my beliefs, my morals, my advice, and I don't touch a lot on my private life. I mean, I have when it comes to uni. I mentioned a bit about my boyfriend and my sister. But I'm just gonna get more into that today and kind of just tell you more about who I am. So the first topic I want to cover is kind of my upbringing, my family, kind of my lifestyle, and I think I've spoken about this a lot with my sister. And so to start with, I grew up in the middle of nowhere in the Midlands in the UK, and I say the middle of nowhere it's really close to the city centre. It's 20-minute drive, but when you're at my house, it feels like you are in the middle of nowhere, which I love. The back of my house goes into the woods, which I love so much. And I just love growing up here. I've lived here since I was 6 months old, and I live here now since I've dropped out of uni. So I'm really thankful that I can live here. But my parents are looking to sell the house or put it up for rent and move somewhere else that's smaller, because there's only two of them, and I'm living with them for the next year or a couple years, so maybe I'll move with them. I do not know what's happening with that, but that is just an idea at the moment. I have a brother, an older brother, who's 2 years older, and I have my twin sister, but we look nothing alike. We're both bleach blonde, but I've got really straight long hair. She's got really curly short hair. She's taller than me. I'm obviously smaller than her, and when we were younger, people were like, you are definitely not twins, let alone sisters, because we looked absolutely nothing alike. But now that we're a bit older and that we both have the same colour hair, especially when I curl my hair or she straightens hers, we look very similar, and you can kind of tell we're at least sisters. But one thing that really annoys me is that, when you get ID'd in a shop, or you get ID'd alcohol or whatever, and if we're together, I always think that they're going to look at the IDs and be like, oh my god, you're twins. But no one ever has mentioned that. Not so long ago, I think we were in Tesco's, and we were waiting because the person who was sorting us out, he wasn't old enough to check our ID, so he was waiting for his manager, and we were like, haha, yeah, we're twins. And he was like, oh, cool. But that was it. Even the guy that came over didn't even realise that. And it just really annoys me because I really want that. Oh my god, you're twins, no way. But no, we never ever have that, and it's just kind of annoying. In terms of upbringing, I've had a very normal upbringing with both my parents, very friendly atmosphere in the house. We always think that we're more friends with our parents than them actually being our parents. Not they're young parents or anything, but they've always been so open with us, and we never really had many rules in the house, a curfew or anything. But to be fair, where we live, there's no point in having a curfew. Sure, they let us go to parties and all of that, and I kind of learnt my drinking habits. Not habits, that sounds bad, but I've learnt drinking from my parents, not from my peers or anything, just because they have wine every night. And when I was 16, that's when I started getting into definitely on the weekends, after school, I'd have a glass of wine, which is bad, I think, that they let me do that. But they were like, well, we were in the pub at age 16. So you know what I mean? Like, they're very chill with that. So yeah, that's why we're kind of good friends. And especially over COVID, we grew like even bigger friends, even though there was like so many arguments. But then we were all adults at that point. Like, me and my sister were 16, 17. My brother was like, he just finished first year uni. So it was like so much adult air, you know what I mean? And it was just quite toxic in the house. But that's kind of the only time there's been family arguments. And yeah, sure, we have like debates at the dinner table and stuff, but to be fair, like, we just get on with our parents. And a lot of people, like, especially our boyfriends and my brother's girlfriend and stuff, like, they always say, oh my god, I love coming to your house. And they always prefer like them coming over here rather us going to their parents' houses, because it's just like so much more fun here. And there's, especially when like all of the partners are here, we always have a huge, like, I don't want to say party, but we all just get really drunk and we go to the pub and it's just so fun. And so like a lot of people were like, oh, so you're staying at home for a year, like, how do you feel about that, living with your parents again? And I'm like, I'm glad I am, because I phone my mum every single day. And I know a lot of people do, but like every thought I have, I text her every single time. Like when I'm at uni, I just phone her, text her all the time. We're just really open, and I love that, and I hope that I can have that with my kids in the future, because it's definitely a lot. I think like it makes it a really safe household that you can always come back home, because I know a lot of people hate being at home, especially like going back home for like from uni, and luckily my uni was so close that I just was home all the time. The next little topic is discussing kind of my like cultural background and like religion and kind of how they've defined me in a way. My family isn't religious. I'm not religious. The kind of only religious thing, like if I had to say like I kind of believe in a kind of religion, I'd say the whole thing with the universe, energy, if you don't chase, attract kind of thing. I'm into that kind of side. And yeah, I learned that from trends on TikTok, and like sure, like it was not something that I thought of myself, but I really do believe in the fact that there's good energy and bad energy out there, and all about like protecting your own energy. And my sister and my parents get really annoyed at me for saying that sometimes. I don't say it all the time, like I'm not preaching like universe, like you got to believe in the universe, like it's kind of like the god, you know, I'm not preaching that, but I just say like if there's negative energy in the air, I need to take myself away from that. So for example, this morning I went downstairs. I'm already in such a fragile mood this morning, which is why I'm kind of doing just like a deep dive into my life episode rather than advice episode. But I went downstairs this morning already being fragile, and my mum like shouted something, or just she was very like stressed, and I just had to like go straight back upstairs because I was like, I cannot let that affect me today. But yeah, other than that, I don't really believe in any religion. My school was very religious. So my school I went to, it was connected to the cathedral, so it was very like we had our assemblies in the cathedral, which I loved just for the fact that it was obviously a very ancient building, and it was like a cathedral is such an amazing building, and we have assemblies in there, and it was just, looking back, that was such a special time that we got to do that, religious or not. Like it's insane. Like my parents, when they first sent us to that school, were like, oh my god, this is insane, it looks like Hogwarts. And it did, and I absolutely loved it. I loved going to those assemblies, even if I were like especially like in the winter, it was so cold, but I still loved it. Looking back, like that was such a privilege to have. With family traditions, kind of the next subtopic I want to talk about, we don't really have like any family traditions, I guess, other than like Christmas. Like we're not religious, but of course we celebrate Christmas, but that's kind of just more like a family time where it's always the same thing. Even now, we always wake up at like 7 o'clock, and it's got later since we've been older, but I always say we're getting up early, because Christmas Day can be a boring day if you don't do a lot. Like if you don't go to church or anything, it can be boring. But usually like Christmas Eve, we drink a bit now, and sometimes we're a bit hungover the next day, so usually it's like 8-9 o'clock, but we get up in our pyjamas. We have to wait for my mum to go downstairs first. That is the one tradition, okay? My mum always has to go downstairs first, because back when we were younger with Santa and all of that, obviously my mum was Santa, she was putting the bags, the sacks downstairs and stuff, and all the presents downstairs, so it was kind of like we always had to make sure she was first, that we didn't see, I don't know, we just didn't see anything, but she was always first, because she's kind of like the boss in the house, my mum, because my dad is my dad, but my mum is like, you don't want to be on her bad side, you know what I mean? So she's kind of like the boss in the house. She'd always go downstairs first, then we'd go straight into the living room, but we have to wait at the door before my parents made a coffee for them, and then we'd go in, and we still do that now, and I love it. Open presents, like obviously now there's not a lot of presents, but I want to say like we play with our presents like you do as a kid, like you find the batteries out and all of that, but like, you know, we kind of just open our presents, look at our presents, and then have a coffee. We tend to have a bit of breakfast, and then we just sit around, wait for the rest of our family to come over, then have Christmas dinner, and then usually probably get drunk. And a new tradition over the past about 5 years, we've been doing like a theme each Christmas day to dress up as. And a lot of people are like, what the hell, like, why do you do that? We did superheroes one Christmas, we did like a murder mystery party one Christmas. What did we do this year? We did 80s themed, pop star themed. Like, we've done so many, and I love it so much. It's just something to look forward to. Like, one year we did just say, let's just dress up really nice, like suit and tie, ball gown, black tie type thing, and that looks really nice. But I'm like, I love a dress up theme. And this year, like, we don't know who's going to be here partner wise, so we're going to do it huge this year. Like, I promise you, you will see that we're going to do it huge. And one more family tradition, not to do with Christmas, is that we always have family dinner. We always sit around the dinner table. Like, we have 2 dinner tables. We have like a fancy one for like Christmas and like when everyone's here, or like a roast dinner kind of occasion. And then we have our kind of like connected to the kitchen, like we've knocked the wall through to the kitchen, just kind of like a booth type, diner type booth thing that we eat dinner on like on a regular basis. But even now, like, even if it's just like the 3 of us, like me and my parents, we always have family dinner at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. We always have family dinner because we've always done it when we were younger, and we just always talk about our day. And I feel sad for those people that never had those family dinners, and we even do it now. I just love it so much. Like, yeah, over COVID it was very toxic, and we eventually just started making our own dinners every now and again, but I respect the family dinner thing so much because it really does show a lot about your family and the connection you have with your family. So I'm definitely going to carry that on in the future. And another thing is the Sunday roast dinner. We don't do a lot over the summer, but we do try and do every single Sunday, whether it's a variation of a roast dinner, but we always have a roast dinner on a Sunday, and that's the one thing I look forward to. Like, even since I was a kid, and I would, like, a Sunday would be like, you have a bath before dinner, you have like wet hair, clean pajamas, fresh new bedding on, and you come downstairs, like when it's cold and you have your roast dinner. I always spilt gravy on my new pajamas, but it was just great, and I love a roast dinner. I will never not like a roast dinner. So that is the most British tradition ever, but I love it, and I'm always going to do it. Moving on now to kind of like life experience and significant life events that really have influenced who I am now. And if you're new here, you won't know, but I have had an eating disorder for a while now. Kind of since it really started at COVID, but it was definitely before then. I feel like I'm always destined to have an eating disorder based off habits I picked up when I was younger, and the kind of like exercise addiction I learned when I was even like age 12, and it just built up, and then COVID really took a toll on that. And I feel like I do talk about my eating disorder in like every episode, but I'm just going to obviously talk about it briefly here. But I struggled a lot with it, and I didn't think I'd be here today, if I'm completely honest with you. And yeah, it definitely shaped who I am because of that, because I've come back stronger from it. And it has been hard, and especially it's been hard recently as I'm faced with kind of like my new life with not being at uni and everyone going back, and that has kind of like made me feel like I'm a bit out of control, which is like the huge trigger. So I have had like a mini relapse this week, but I'm learning to come back from that, and I think I really do think I have come back stronger from that now. And yeah, that's kind of all I'm going to say on it. But what I will say, like, if I am going to give advice in this episode, is that your past like experiences do not define you, but they do shape you, and that is in a good way. A lot of people hang on to like past trauma and past life experiences and think, oh my god, this happened to me, like I'm never going to be okay, or people are going to judge me for it, that kind of thing. And if people judge you for it, that's their problem, delete them as a friend. But they do shape you, and they are good things. Like, yeah, do not dwell on your past. That is another episode waiting to come. But don't dwell on your past, but learn that it was good for you because it's made you stronger today, and you've learned from that, and you've come back from that, and you've got through it, and you can get through everything else in the future as well. Like, if you've got through that, like that really bad thing, you can get through anything. And that's something to always hang on to when you're feeling down about like something that's happened in the past. Like, don't dwell on it, but just remember that it was good for you, because it's like you're here today and you've definitely come back stronger from it. Even if you don't think you have, you definitely have. If you have the power to get through that, you're definitely a lot stronger than you think you are. I think another thing that I'm going to say here about life experiences is, this might be a bit of a rogue one, but at school, I was an absolute bitch, okay? kind of like before sixth form, like kind of school, when I was going through puberty, I was an absolute bitch. I bitched behind my friends like so many times. I was just a horrible person, to be honest, and I cried all the time, and I do not respect that girl at all. Obviously, like, I have so much love for that girl, because that was also the start of my ED, but I have, like, love and respect for my past selves, but she was going through a lot, okay? She's, like, puberty really took a toll on me, and obviously at that time I was like, I don't think, like, anyone else is going through this, it's just me, like, I'm miserable. I had many dark thoughts, and I hated that time of my life. And I was just so depressed, and because I was so down, I took it out on everyone else, and I was just so angry all the time. And I feel really bad because I pushed so many people away, caused so many arguments with friends, and I look back and I'm like, I hate to be that person. I do not want to bitch and gossip. I hate gossip so much now. Like, sure, I do it, but then after like a minute, if I'm with a friend, I'm like, actually, can we not? Because this is negative energy. Not in a cringe way, but I'm just like, this is really negative. I don't want to talk about people behind their back. Because one, it always gets back to them somehow. And two, I just feel bad and you shouldn't do it. Like, it's a horrible thing to gossip. I hate it because you don't feel good afterwards. So I try not to do that anymore because I really don't like how I feel after gossiping. But yeah, at school I was a horrible person. But then coming out of puberty, kind of like 16, 17, I definitely became a lot more wise and a lot more kind of like, I don't say wise, but you know what I mean, like aware of what I was saying and aware of like who I was hurting, and kind of only like one friend from school has stuck by my side through all of that. And then I've made other friends at school since, and don't get me wrong, like I had a huge friendship group, there were always so many like dramas within that. But then to be fair, at the end of school, like in sixth form, our friendship group definitely stuck, and we like brought on all of the new girls in sixth form because there was a lot that joined, and we kind of took them all on, and we were just like a really happy group. And yeah, there was some spats, but not as many as there were in like the years before. So yeah, this in sixth form, we all, I think because we were all going through puberty as well, like we all like backfired on each other, but I was the worst one. I was definitely the worst one in that group, and I don't know whether that comes to a surprise to you, but yeah, I was an utter bitch. And my best friend now from school, she's stuck by my side through all of it, and we laugh about it now. But I just felt bad for kind of just like stringing her along in that friendship, because I never like realised how true of a friend she was, that she stuck by my side because she knew I was going through stuff. So I respect her so much. So if you are listening, you know who you are. But yeah, I was a bitch, but I've learned from that now. I definitely want to do an episode all about puberty in school and friendships, because I've not seen any podcasts about this or even blog posts about it. So I'm going to do both about this, and hopefully that'll be with my sister, because we've planned an episode all about it, but we just ran out of time before she went back to uni. So yeah, I really want to do an episode on that because it's so interesting, and I want to do like kind of two different views of me being kind of like an introvert and my sister being more of an extrovert. One of my main passions in life is definitely travelling, mainly because I love learning about new cultures through my studies of languages. And one of my favourite trips was last summer with my dad. I think I've definitely spoken about this before, when we went to Madrid and Barcelona, and we did a kind of like little tour around northeast Spain and central Spain, and it was just the best. It was like just a long weekend, but it was just the best time away with my dad, because again, I was like just starting ED recovery, and that definitely helped me because my dad eats a lot because he's a lot bigger than me, and obviously I didn't really eat much at that time. And that's when I learned that travel comes with like food, like they come hand in hand. Like when you go to new places, you've got to try the new foods, the new cuisine, the new culture, and I definitely learned that from that. And that food is not a bad thing, because I always used to think like traveling was a huge trigger for me if I was somewhere new having to eat something different, and not every single restaurant would do like yogurt and berries for breakfast, you know what I mean? It's usually like toast, you know what I mean? So I definitely learned a lot from that, and it was just my favourite trip ever. And then another favourite trip was when I went to Berlin with my mum and my sister at the end of last summer, because those two trips are like when I'm older and I respect culture so much. Like we did a huge family trip to, this was in 2017 I think, we went to Africa, we went on safari in Botswana, Zambia, we went to South Africa. I do not recommend going to Johannesburg, but we went as like a one night stop, but I hated every second of it. It was so scary, so scary, and that kind of brought me into like the real world, okay? Because I do live in a first world bubble, we all do, and that's not a bad thing. at all, but we think we just have to be a little bit aware of it sometimes. From there we went to the Seychelles, which was just absolutely gorgeous. We stayed on this kind of like private island. I don't know how my mum got that, but it was absolutely gorgeous. We were there for like a week, and then we went to Dubai on the way like home, because we had to go like to like a main airport to come home. So we're like, may as well go to Dubai for a week, which I would not recommend in August because it was like 50 degrees. You couldn't go outside. So yeah, but it was like, that was the best holiday in terms of like destination and stuff, but we didn't really do much cultural stuff because safari is not cultural, you know what I mean, like it's the opposite, I think. But we stayed at this game resort that I think Harry and Meghan, or no, I think it was William and Kate went to the week after, which was just insane actually. But we went there, it was about 3 days, 4 days, and we just did morning safari, afternoon safari, evening safari, and it was run by only women, and it was kind of the only place where there was no poaching, because across the river was Namibia, I think it was, or no, it wasn't Zambia, I think it was Namibia, where poaching was allowed. So like there was no animals outside of the river, which was so weird. Whereas on our side, it was like, it was a free roaming game resort, so it was just animals kind of came and went as they migrated, or like a lot of them obviously stayed there because they know it's safe. And it was a really interesting experience to see that, and I felt sorry for the animals, but I knew that it was all sustainable and the animals were there out of choice in a way. And it was very interesting, and it was very cultural, the fact that it was only women ran it, and it was very respected in the whole community in Africa, the whole safari community, etc. But yeah, I would recommend safari, but just keep in mind that that is not actually what it is like, if you know what I mean. Like that is not the culture of Africa or something, you know what I mean. And I don't want to like stir anything up here, but I really wish we did learn more about the culture while we were there. But it was a very short trip to Africa, but I would recommend going on safari. It was really fun. Some hobbies of mine include, I played hockey for so many years. Like when I was younger, when I first started playing, I hated it so much because it was always like at school, it was like in the winter term, so it was so fucking cold and I was so small and I just hated it. But then I grew to absolutely love it. I became captain, like key player of the team, like I was centre mid, which I loved. And I just loved it, and I played like 3 matches every Saturday for club, for school, training like every day of the week, and I absolutely loved it. And I regret not being able to go back to it now. I mean, I can, but my anxiety is too high to go back to it, so but I'm working on that. But I really want to get back into hockey just because it's so fun. Like I love running up that wing. Like I never score a goal, but I always like assist, and I'm just a key member in terms of like tackling and just like always being there. I don't know how I'm always there in front of the ball, but I am, and I love it. I also dance. I'm a self-taught dancer. I can't do the middle splits, I can't do a scorpion, I can't do 20 turns in a row, but I'm a pretty good dancer for a self-taught dancer who doesn't dance at a company or a studio. I just love dancing because it gets out my emotions, and I really wish I did carry on ballet when I was younger. But fun fact, when I was 4 years old doing ballet, my mum had to pull me out of that studio because I just sit in the corner and cry all the time. And that's the kind of like the one thing I say to my mum, that I hold her, like I hold it against her. I'm like, why didn't you make me do ballet? She was like, I don't want to be that mum. But I was like, I'd be such a good ballerina now. And I'm just kind of annoyed that I never did it. Because I would have loved to do it now. And people say you're never too old to do stuff, but with things like ballet, I think you are. And I do want to find like adult classes somewhere, because I would love to get back into it and just see what I can do. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that just yet. But I remember my sister was told to pick between ballet and gymnastics, because we did gymnastics and she had like a very arched back, and for ballet you don't want that. So we chose gymnastics and more like hip hop dance over ballet. And I love gymnastics, but our studio and our club again was just not advancing us. Like it was just kind of like you turn up and you try, and then like the main coach left, so then we weren't like doing the levels or anything. So I was just really annoyed because I wanted to do like competitions and all that, but it was just not the right club. But it was still fun. Like a lot of my friends did it as well. And yeah, I really do think as kids you should just do everything. Like we did singing, dancing, acting, hockey, horse riding. But again, I'm allergic to horses. That's another fun fact. I did horse riding for about 5 years without really realising that I was allergic to horses, because I'd just come back from every single session, just my face all puffy, my nose running, and for some reason we just didn't clock that I'm allergic to horses, because it was the first place we went to was an indoor arena, and it was very like dusty, obviously, so maybe I was just allergic to that. But then we moved to an outdoor arena because it was better as well, and there were more people there with their own horses, and it was just a much better, like, kind of like a yard feel, like a proper like horse riding centre. It was really cool, like it was very American feeling, if you know what I mean, like a movie kind of feel. But we were so left out of it because we didn't have our own horse. We just borrowed other people's horses. We were there for less than a year, and then I fell off, hated it again, because this horse, they put me on a huge horse. I was tiny. I don't know why they did that, just because they wanted to advance me a bit, because they saw that I just like trotting, didn't like cantering. I just kind of sat at the back, because I did it just because my sister did it. So they put me on this giant horse, also called Ellie, and she just flipped out because it was like a new person on her, and she galloped everywhere, and I fell off and I nearly broke my back. And I was like, I'm not doing this, because they always say you got to get back on straight away, and I was like, no, I'm going home. So then my mum just took us out of that arena because I just didn't want to go back, and Lani was really shook up from like watching me fall off, so she was like, okay, I'm not doing it again either. So yeah, that was my horse riding little rant. But I do want to go like horseback riding, like just through the woods on like a little hack. I do want to do that because I hated that hack. I only ever did one hack, and I hated it because I was younger and sulky and crying all the time, and I just hated it because I was so many, like, they put me on a really bad horse, and I would just love to go do it now, to be honest. Going kind of back to like childhood and school, I went to a private school. I don't know if I've said that before, but I did go to a private school from the age of 8. I went to just the state local school before then. But yeah, I went to a private school. As you could probably tell by the fact that I said we're connected to a cathedral. But yeah, went to a private school for like literally most of my school life, and it was great. Like, I did not want to move because I was like, I'm gonna lose all my friends, like when I was in year 3 when we moved. But my mum was like, you can still see them, and we didn't for ages until we started hockey. And then my friends, like my main friends from that school, then joined as well because they played hockey at their school as well. So like that's when we got to know each other, but we just didn't really see them because you don't text when you're 8 years old. You don't have a phone. It was really hard to like arrange things through my mum. So, but yeah, I did love my school. But the main thing would be the pressure to go to uni, the pressure to like do so many extracurriculars. Like, you had to do a sport, you had to do a lunchtime club, you had to do another outside club, and it was just so much pressure to do. Like, I remember in year 7, like, I didn't want to do any clubs, like none of them like I liked. So then, but they were like, you have to do one, like it's our like not policy, they didn't say that, but like it's just like the rules, you have to do one, especially like in year 7. But then I joined languages club, and it was just fun because every week there would just be like a new culture or a new language to kind of like pick up a bit. And it was just basically eating food in lunchtime, and I loved it so much. And then we started our own one in like year 9 because they disbanded it because no one wanted to do it for some reason, because it was just for like year 7 and year 8. So we started a new one, and everyone was there. It was just so fun. And then that's when I think I learned to love languages, and that's what I wanted to do at uni. But as I said, I've dropped out of uni, and I don't want to talk about this loads because I have been in my recent episodes, but it's the right decision for me, and that's what I'm going to say. I just was hating uni so much. I really thought it was for me, but it's really not. Why? I don't know. I love drinking, I love partying, I love studying, but for some reason throw that into uni environment, I don't know, I just really don't like it. And that might be the fact that I went to a bad university. It wasn't, it's like top 10 in the UK, but in terms of socialising and location, it's really not good. I went to Warwick for the last 2 years, and I don't know if I'm going to go back, but we will see. And luckily it was only an hour away from home, so I came back so much. And I can drive, so I came back so much. Because my sister can't drive as well, so I've got a red Mini, and I love it so much because it was meant to be a car for me and my sister. Like, we were both going to pass. Obviously, we're twins, we were going to pass at the same time, but I passed, she didn't. No idea how I passed. I always curb the car at roundabouts. I don't know how I drive, and I never speed, but I'm just a really bad driver, and my boyfriend hates getting in the car with me. But yeah, I cannot drive very well, but I love my car so much, and I'm so happy my sister didn't pass her test, because now it's like my car, because a lot of people are like, wow, you've got a nice car, but my parents got it for me and my sister, because they were like, do you want a car each? Like, how are we going to do this? And we were like, we go to the same places, the same parties, the same events, like, we just need a car between us. And I mean, my sister didn't pass, so I'm really glad we didn't get 2 cars, to be honest. But yeah, I love my car so much. I don't know how my car came into that, but yeah, I just didn't love uni. So now I'm back and I'm pursuing social media marketing, content creation, and I'm also doing an online course to be a personal trainer, which is something I've been wanting to do for ages, but I've not wanted to do it the past couple of years, obviously being in recovery, because a lot of the stuff I'm studying and doing essays about is very triggering in terms of like, you should do this much exercise a week, you should only eat carbs this amount. Like, it is very triggering with that, but obviously I'm learning that is like the guidelines, and not everyone has guidelines. But my dream would be to open an online PT business or in person, and work with those people who are going through ED recovery, obviously at a good enough stage where they've kind of dropped the exercise bit and they want to find a way to get back into exercise, because obviously you know it's healthy for you, but you don't want to go back into your old habits. But obviously, like, when they're trying to go back into exercise, because there's no guidance anywhere, especially in the UK, there is no ED support anywhere unless you pay God knows how much money to go into a what's it called, like a hospital ward, unless you pay so much money for that, and or you just have a really good therapist. I don't know, but it's so hard to get back into exercise. So I really do want to do that business and really work closely with I want to say only women. Like, I know men have eating disorders too, but I really want to work with just women with ED recovery, because I had no guidance at all. I did not know how to get back into exercise, or when I should stop exercising, or what I should do and how much I should do. And I just really want to help other people going through it, because ED behaviour, ED like numbers aren't falling down anytime soon because of social pressure, social media, expectations, society. All of those things are really aiding the increase of people with eating disorders in the UK, across the world, and I hate it so much that it's growing, because I'm one of those numbers, and I really want to help reduce that. I mean, that won't be reducing it, that'll be reducing kind of like the aftermath effects, but I really want to help people get back into exercise, because I really wanted to get back into it, but I thought, oh my god, no, this is toxic, I can't exercise. But then I got sad because I love exercising, so it's kind of like finding that connection back. So that's why I kind of want to do like a therapy course as well to go with that. But I don't know, I don't really know what I want to do, but that is my dream, like, business to own and to be successful at. But I think it might just be a part-time thing when I first start doing it. But I really don't know, but that is my dream at the moment. The last thing I want to touch on, because I'm aware of how long this episode is, but it's kind of like my personality traits and what it means the most to me, and like kind of my strengths and weaknesses. To start with, I've always thought I'm an extrovert, but I'm really not. Like, my social anxiety is huge, which makes me an introvert. And we did me and my boyfriend did the Myers-Briggs test, and somehow we're the same, even though he has social anxiety too, but he's way more confident than I am. But I forgot what it is. It's either ENFP or ENFJ. They're like leadership one. And I do have leadership quality. Like, I feel like I'm such a good like team leader, and I can easily like fulfill that leader role in a team at work or hockey or whatever I do. And I do definitely step up for that and go the extra mile for those kind of roles. But in terms of like when I'm out and about and I'm with someone, like asking the waiter for a bill, for example, if someone's with me, I'll get them to do it. Or if we're at a bar, I'll get like my boyfriend to go get me a pint instead of me. That is kind of because I'm scared of the men at the bar, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I can be independent, but I'm very much dependent on other people when it comes to those kind of things. But if I'm on my own, I'll do it. You know what I mean? But also, I think I need to work towards that, because I'm living at home now, and I don't see people all the time. I only see people like once a week at work. Like, that's kind of it. So I'm really trying to make an effort to meet up with my friends a lot more. And obviously now I'll be going down to visit my sister a lot more than I did last year. And I see my boyfriend, but again, I've become quite dependent on him. But yeah. And that's another thing of my personal life. I do have a boyfriend, and I think I mentioned him more and more recently. We've been together for a little over a year now, and we've had our arguments, we've had our spats, but we're really, really close. Obviously, we're boyfriend, girlfriend, but it's going really well, our relationship, and I can see us definitely lasting. So I'm really happy about that, because we have had like close calls, I want to say, and obviously I don't want to like share too much about that, but we have had that, and it's always been about communication. And I feel bad because I've always blamed him for communication when actually it's me. I don't tell him when like I think he's done something wrong or that he's hurt me. I never say anything. So then it builds up and up and up until I'm drunk, and then I just scream at him. That's usually when it happens. So That's why I've said to him, like, I don't want to be drunk around him anymore because we just fucking argue all the time. But no, like, the other day I definitely realised when we had, like, another little argument that I'm not saying that I'm the problem, but my communication style is not the best, and I thought I was a great communicator. I thought I was always great with communicating with other people about my feelings, but no, I'm great at communicating my feelings to me and admitting things to me. It takes time, but I can do it with my whole personal growth journey. But yeah, not with my boyfriend. So I need to work on that, and I do really feel bad for kind of dragging him along with that. But now I've realised that it is me, and I'm going to work on my communication with him. But I'm just scared I hurt him, like when he's done something to hurt me. I'm scared that it will hurt him if I tell him, because a lot of the time it is petty. But yeah, some things need to be said, Ellie, and I need to really start doing that more. And yeah, I've talked about it a lot with my social anxiety. I'm really working on that, but it is a lot harder now that I'm living at home. But I really hope that I can improve that a lot. But yeah, I've just kind of grown that since COVID. But as a kid, I was always the shy one, and my sister would always be the one to talk to family at parties and stuff, and I'd always just be sat by my mum, even to the age of like 16. But since I've started doing work, like when I worked on NCS last year, I knew no one there at all. That's how I met my boyfriend as well. But working on that really did help me push through like my social anxiety and obviously my ED recovery, because that was when I first started, and then I had to eat all the time and I had to watch what other kids were eating, which was I hated, but it definitely helped me. And especially with my independence, like my mum was like, you really want to do that? And I was like, yeah, it's fun and it's good pay, and it was really fun, and I do not regret doing it. The only thing I regret is that they aren't doing it this year. They've stopped doing it. They've cut it because the government don't have enough money to support it, which is really annoying because it was such a good program. But yeah, I love doing NCS, and as that kind of leadership role and independence really did help me. And with the other jobs I've done, from doing that podcast for my university to working at my dad's friend's company to now having a proper job now, like I wouldn't be able to do that if I was that anxious, if you know what I mean. So I'm just kind of proud that I've got this far doing jobs and doing stuff out of my comfort zone. So I hope you've kind of gained more of an insight about who I am through this episode. It's kind of been a bit all over the place, but those are the best episodes, I feel like. So I hope you've learnt a lot more about me and kind of get an idea of who I am. Because yeah, I'm working on being more authentic with you guys, as I believe that is the only way I can really get through to you and kind of like give advice for you. Like if you don't know me, how can I give you advice? You know what I mean? So I'm hoping you kind of can put a face to my voice now. And yeah, so future episodes will include stuff that I talked about today. So hopefully a collab with my sister on puberty, on friendships, on high school, all of those things. And I want to talk about more on like self-confidence and my own journey with self-confidence instead of like always relating it to my eating disorder. I want to talk about how I've become more independent and more self-confident, even though I've had a setback this week with that. But I'm working on that, and I want to share ways of how to work on that rather than just saying journal or work on it, you know what I mean? So I really want to give more advice on that. So I hope you've really enjoyed this episode, and I look forward to speaking to you guys soon, and it will be next week. It will be every week from now on, I promise you. It's been a bit hectic the last month, but I'm ready and I'm back, so you're going to hear from me very soon. Definitely, if you like this episode, go follow me on Instagram. There's more about me on there, and I share updates on my blog, on my podcast, on my life on there, so please go over to that. It's just Ellie Overfield, and yeah, I hope you give me a follow, give me a like, and yeah, I'll speak to you very soon. Bye bye.